Hey, thank you everyone for joining us of day 3 of Happily Ever After. Can you believe David and I have been married almost 1 year? I can't believe it either, but I'm so happy. And I'm ecstatic because Vanessa, a good friend of ours, is joining us for today's episode. And she may be joining us for some additional episodes depending on her availability. Vanessa, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure, and it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Well, Vanessa was, she accompanied David and I and the other couple to the wedding expo that I talked about yesterday. How did you like the wedding expo,
Oh,
Vanessa?
I love the wedding expo. I learned a lot of things that I didn't know about, and I was exposed to all these different things that people can do when they're getting married. I had no idea.
And I agree with you. If I had gotten married in my 20s, I knew what to expect because I was in a number of weddings in my 20s. But now that some time has passed, weddings are a full production. So I agree with you. I was totally shocked and surprised that, a wedding can be so much different than what it could have been when I was younger. So, but one of the things we saw was a number of venues for food.
Yep.
And we even got to taste a few cakes. So, I love to watch the food channel when people are making cakes and things like that. So, I was very excited about my cake. So, Vanessa, what are your thoughts generally about wedding cakes?
Uh, Wedding cakes. Well, actually, I just went to a wedding on Saturday, so I had the opportunity to have some wedding cake. And that particular cake had the fondant on it instead of the buttercream icing. Um, Wedding cakes, I think, are made more for beauty than taste. And some bakers do a really, really great job, with the taste and the presence of it. But I think it's mainly to make an impression on the guests when they're actually looking at it, at the creation. But
Okay,
I like all kinds of desserts, so I don't rule out anything.
exactly. Well, Vanessa, I think wedding cakes have even changed. When I was a girl, my mother's best friend was a professional caterer, and her specialty was wedding cakes. So she made these very elaborate cakes, and everything was made with the icing. She had fountains, she had stairways with all this stuff. So I just naturally assumed when I got married that she would do my cake. Unfortunately, I waited too long and she no longer makes cakes. So when we started looking for cakes, I was a bit surprised how even cakes have changed. But one of the things I wanted to do that David didn't want to do was go cake tasting. So I want to thank you for going on that with me. It was a very intimate time. And I think that being a bride, even though my time of being a bride was kind of cut short because of COVID, is very special. And you did that with me in your area, Catonsville. Downtown Main Street, there's a renowned bakery that does all kind of things,
Mhm.
and weddings is their specialty. And we set up an appointment one Saturday morning, and we showed up.
Right. Yeah. And they had on their wedding tray that they gave you, I think it was about 10 or 11 different flavors of cake and or combinations of cake and fillings and icing. So, I really had to bite the bullet there and taste them all.
It was so hard to do.
Yep.
So I think, what did you like best? I'm going to share what I liked best, but what did you like best about that experience?
Uh, I just like the presentation, the opportunity to see all these different flavors and combinations of cakes that they can provide for the wedding. It was a nice break. I think it really only lasted about an hour, but it was just interesting and it was nice. And I'm always open to learning new things.
Yes, it took me when I called because I can't remember how I found out about this particular bakery, but it took about a month for me to get an appointment. And I think it was on a Saturday morning. So, of course, working,
Mhm.
we kind of are limited to, at least I am. Some
Mhm.
people are in the land of retirement, but some of us are still working slugs. So I had to really wait till a time opened up. So for people who've never been on a cake tasting experience before, and I had not, except for walking through Costco and people handing me free food.
Mhm.
We had an area that was kind of, to ourselves. We had the one of the baker designers there, and as you shared, we had a tray of all these different flavors, different type of icings, and we tasted everything and we talked about it. And then, I was a little overwhelmed because there's a number of different options of how you could design a cake. And if you design it, it can get pretty intricate and pretty expensive really, really quickly. But I tell you, I really enjoyed the experience. And I think the thing I liked best was just being with you.
Oh,
I think
thank you,
that's what.
Dora. Well, I enjoyed supporting you throughout the different experiences and adventures that you went on getting ready for your wedding. And unfortunately, like you said, it was interrupted, just like everything else in 2020. But it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed, getting to know you better while we were doing these things.
Right. And that's right, because I met Vanessa through my now husband, David, because they were members of Unlimited Faith Ministries. And Unlimited Faith had a huge impact on our wedding. And Vanessa was one of those huge positive impacts. In fact, all the impact from Unlimited Faith Ministries was positive. And one of the things that you did was you just made yourself available to me, and I want to thank you for that. And I also want to thank you for how you handled yourself. Very mature. You know, every aspect you were supportive. You didn't push your opinion. You didn't have an agenda. You were just there for David and I, which really turned in for me. And we'll talk about some other things we did together. And so it was a really fun time. Now, ironically, I didn't choose that bakery to have our cake done, and because when before COVID interrupted everything, our venue was going to take care of the cake.
Mhm.
So that wasn't something I was concerned about because it was a part of what we were going to do. So when everything got uprooted, all of a sudden I had to, like everyone else, rethink this.
Mhm.
So we wound up getting our cake at a bakery in Laurel off of Route 197. Again, I can't remember the name of it, and it's moved. And that was a lot of fun. But I think we decided to get a red velvet, and they also provided. Somebody picked up the box, and we got to eat cake again.
Okay.
So that was a lot of fun. But one of the things that I found when you went to the wedding on Saturday, did they have a cake topper on their cake?
They did, and it was a couple. It was the husband, the bride and groom, and it was very pretty. You
Oh,
know, yeah, it was that was a nice experience too. But they have so
right.
many kinds of cake toppers now. They're individual, just like the couples.
And that is so true. So when our wedding changed from we were going to have 80 people and it went down to 20, really 15, because David and I were two people, the officiant, the DJ, and the photographer. So that was 5 slots already taken. So we only were able to have 15 additional people. And at that time, there was no vaccine. They were still trying to work out the vaccine. So we needed a much smaller cake. And even that, and I think we had a 2-tier cake. But because it was a much smaller cake, and we had tried another place, I think in Severna Park, and we
Mhm.
didn't like that place. So we had 3 places we kind of worked with. But when we went to the place in Laurel, we wanted a cake topper, and your cake topper has to fit your cake. You can't have this great big cake topper and a little bitty cake. And I had seen some cake toppers in what's it called, Party City. I didn't
Okay.
even know Party City had wedding stuff. I'm gonna have to have a special edition
Okay.
just
Yeah.
on Party City.
Yeah.
I had looked at cake toppers at Michael's, and I
Mhm.
just couldn't find anything. And as you say, they're so individual. So when we walked in to get our cake in Laurel, they had the old school porcelain cake toppers, and I have mine here, and I have it's petite, it's tiny because our cake was tiny, and I just love it. And at first, I was going to have them cut off the little cross. Wait, I'm not good at this because I thought people might think it's a rosary. We're not Catholic. But then I said, it's not around her neck. And we're both Christ centered. And I looked again today, and there's detailing on the groom's shirt that I totally missed until today. So it's just so sweet. It's just very simple, and it's tiny because our cake was so small, but I think it's beautiful, and I will treasure it forever. And it's just really simple, nothing too elaborate or anything like that. So that's what we did for our wedding. And for our anniversary, I'm not quite sure. We're still trying to figure out what to do. We still haven't figured that out, but I did truly enjoy the cake, and we'll take out that one piece. It's still in the freezer. I don't know if it'll be edible. And next time I'll talk about the knives that we cut it with and everything. But I just want to thank you for being here today and talking about this. Is there anything else that you want to share before we end our time today?
Well, I did remember the name of the bakery that we went to, and it was Sugar Bakers.
That's right.
Yeah, and I just want to tell you that I'm just so happy that you all were able to have your ceremony and enjoy each other on that day, and that you're getting ready to celebrate that whole year.
I know. I think
Awesome.
Thank you. I wanted to do this story because it wasn't like our courtship and everything was a fairy tale, but maybe it was. But anytime you see something, it always ends with happily ever after.
Mhm.
And what does happily ever after really look like? So I try to end with the fact that, you like a cake tasting, you may try different things, but there's one cake and topping that's perfect. So I didn't do a lot of dating in my single life. I did some dating, but I never found excuse me so much. Excuse me. I never found the right person until David found me. And
Oh,
so we're a perfect match. Not saying either one of us is perfect, but just like you said, it can be quite complex. But I like the thing that you said is that some cakes are for show, not so much for taste. And when I can equate that to David, he's not for show, he's the real thing. He
yeah.
puts God first. He's kind. He's thoughtful. And that's what I wish for every bride, that they have the right man for them that puts God first. Because if God is first in our lives, we can make it.
Absolutely. And from the outside looking in, it seemed to be a fairy tale. And I don't think it was just me that thought that. There were some other members at UFM that were just kind of waiting to see which way it was going to go. So,
Yeah, I know because we went to UFM Unlimited Faith Ministries. Going to church was part of our dating life, and we were planning, or I was planning to join the church. Because I'm going to New Psalmist. He's
right.
at Unlimited Faith, but there's a connection between New Psalmist Baptist Church and Unlimited Faith. But
Right.
Unlimited Faith had an intimacy to it.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen, and
Right.
that's okay. There's still a camaraderie within the membership of
Yeah.
Unlimited Faith.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
But thank you so much for spending some time with me in this edition of Happily Ever After. And as I said, everyone, Vanessa may be coming back if she has time in her schedule to join us with some other guests, because she was definitely a part of my journey and she was one of the reasons I felt like a princess. So thank you again, Vanessa.
And thank you for having me. And
You're
I'll
more
see
than
you
welcome.
again real
All
soon.
right, take care.
Too.